Coming up, within arm's reach, kids ages 5 to 11 are one step closer to being eligible for a COVID-19 vaccine. As one of the nation's top health agencies, the FDA recommends emergency use authorization for the Pfizer vaccine for younger kids.
What is the side effects for the things that you could get in the shot?
Dr. John will join us with what you need to know. Also ahead, there's been a lot of talk about infrastructure lately, but just what is infrastructure? And why is it so important? We'll explain. Plus, calling all you ghosts and goblins, we'll take a look at the history of Halloween. And inspiring kids, this teenager is bringing new hope to furry friends who need a helping hand.
Knowing that I can save a life, that just makes me even more motivated to do so.
Her incredible story just ahead.
This is NBC Nightly News Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. It's great to be with you. I'm back home from the West Coast and coming to you from our studios here at Rockefeller Center in New York. Can you believe it's the end of October already? Amazing how time flies. And you know what that means? Halloween is almost here. And speaking of, we've got a fun story coming up on the history of Halloween. Plus, our pal Zoe Bates will be here with a sweet decorating treat you guys can make at home. No tricks, I promise. And a little bit later on, we can't wait to introduce you to this teenage girl who is building wheelchairs for animals. But first, let's begin with the top story we're following this weekend, and that is the pandemic. As we mentioned, this week, the Food and Drug Administration's advisory panel voted to recommend the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. This would expand eligibility to some 28 million kids across the country. Now, it's a lower dose than what adults receive, and it would be the first vaccine available for kids under 12. We know you guys have plenty of questions, so let's get straight to them. Joining us now in our weekly Ask the Doc segment is our pal, Dr. John Torres. And Dr. John, pretty big news this week. Kids ages 5 to 11 are a step closer to being eligible for a COVID vaccine. What do kids and parents who are watching need to know right now?
And you're right, Lester. The FDA Advisory Committee, that's the first step in getting shots into kids 5 to 11 years old, just said, yes, we're recommending they get this shot. And now it's going to move on through various other steps. But what we found out is, number one, this is the COVID vaccine for kids 5 to 11 years old are what we're talking about. And up until now, they haven't been able to get the shot, but they will very soon. We found out that they want 2 doses of this Pfizer vaccine, much like what your parents got if they got the Pfizer vaccine. They're going to be 3 weeks apart, and they're showing in the studies to be around 91% effective, which means it's really going to do a great job at protecting you from getting COVID and getting seriously sick from COVID. The nice thing about this, as opposed to last year when you had to go to these areas to get the shot, now it's going to be at your doctor's offices, it's going to be at your pharmacies, it's going to be more readily available. So hopefully once they get through these steps, by next week, kids will be able to start getting shots.
All right, well, thanks for keeping us updated on all that, Doctor. Hey, we've got a question from one of our viewers in your neck of the woods, Colorado, about the vaccine for kids. Take a listen.
Hi, my name is Selma, and I am 10 years old. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. When the shot for kids come out, what is the side effects for the things that you could get in the shot? Bye. I love Nightly Kids Edition.
Thank you, and a really good question. I think a lot of parents are pondering that question, too, about potential side effects, Dr. John.
You know, that's a great question, and kids and adults are worried about side effects because you want to make sure when you get the shot, you know what's going to happen. And what they found out in these trials, well, they looked at over 2,000 kids who ended up getting the shot, or at least almost 2,000 kids. They found out that they only had a little bit of a sore arm, maybe a little bit of a fever, a little bit of a temperature, and then they felt kind of tired the next day. But they didn't have any big side effects when they went through the trial. Now, as millions of children get the vaccine, we might find more side effects, but we're still finding out that the vaccine is very safe and it's very effective at keeping you healthy.
And Dr. John, Halloween is just a few days away. We know we are still in the midst of a pandemic. Any advice for kids and family? Look at you on how they can enjoy the day and still stay safe. What are you, first of all?
Yeah, Lester, in case you can't tell, I am a bear. Rah! And these are my forest friends here. So we're going to tell you what you can do for Halloween that you can keep safe. And this year, as opposed to last year, they want you to go out and trick or treat. They want you to have fun, but they want to make sure that you do two different things. One, stay safe from COVID. And that means doing things that are outdoors, staying outdoors, don't go inside, especially with people who aren't part of your family. But two, the normal Halloween safety things we talk about. Number one, make sure your costume that you've tried it on before, it fits, you're not going to trip or anything. If you have a mask, or even like this where I have a hood, take the hood off when you're walking around so you can see what you're doing. And then as you approach the house, go ahead and put it back on, because that's what you want them to see, and then take it off again when you go walking around again. And then make sure that when you get the candy, which is the main reason you're out there, that you don't eat any of it till you get home. Your parents can look through it, make sure it's all okay, and then give you the candy. Go ahead and dig in and have fun. But this year, the most important thing, and experts are saying this all over the place, they want you to have fun, Lester.
Yeah, and don't feed the bears, because the bear might be a doctor. Dr. John Torres.
Don't feed the bears.
That is a great costume. I will unveil mine a little later on in our program, but yours is number one. All right, thanks. Happy Halloween, my friend.
Happy Halloween.
All right, well, let's turn now to another story making headlines this week, and that is President Biden's plan to fix the infrastructure here in the United States. Congress is debating the bill, but it got us thinking, what exactly is infrastructure and why is it so important? Well, our friend Stephanie Rule explains.
Lately, there's been a lot of talk about infrastructure, how it's really important, and we need to spend a lot of money to make it better. But here's the big question. What is it, and why is it so expensive? Well, infrastructure is everywhere. Just look around you where you live. Roads, bridges, tunnels, airports, train stations. All of that is considered infrastructure. And guess what? It's in your house, too. When you turn on the faucet and water comes out. When you watch your favorite cartoons on TV. Even when you go to the bathroom. Think about it. The cables, the pipes, all of those things that you need, that's considered infrastructure, too. It's the physical structures around us, and in a lot of places, it is really old and falling apart. Like, when you're driving with your parents and you hit a pothole hard, maybe your car gets a flat tire. Well, that's an example that across the country, we need to fix our aging infrastructure. And even in some places, build more, build new things. Because when the infrastructure breaks down, things get a lot more difficult, and in some cases, dangerous. It gets harder and it takes longer for your mom and dad to get to work, or for you to get to school. Maybe the water you drink at home or at school starts to taste funny or look funny. Well, that is not good, and it needs to get fixed. Well, right now in Washington, D.C., they are talking about it, even fighting about it. Elected leaders are debating just how much money to spend on these projects and what projects are most important. And it's tough because they are really, really expensive. I'm talking about building brand new bridges, putting a new tunnel under a river, or maybe building a new hospital. And the price tag for all of this is huge. It could be as much as $2 trillion. That is trillion with a T. That is the number 2 followed by 12 zeros. Look at that. It is a big number, a huge amount of money. And no surprise, there are a lot of different opinions about where to spend that money, and most importantly, how in the world to pay for it.
All right, Stephanie, we learned a lot there. Thanks very much. Well, guess what, guys? Merriam-Webster's dictionary has added a whopping 455 new words and meanings. The new words include vaccine passport, fluffernutter, which Webster defines as a sandwich made with peanut butter and marshmallow cream. Sounds pretty good to me. I've never heard of that, though. And Webster has also added dad bod. What does that mean? Well, the definition is a physique regarded as typical of an average father, especially one that is slightly overweight and not extremely muscular. Are they talking about me? I wonder if they'll add granddude one day. My grandkids would love that. I think they would. Well, let's turn now to our Inspiring Kids series and a teen making big strides in helping disabled animals get back on their feet. Our friend Kevin Tibbles has the story.
In Champlin, Minnesota, one teen has become a hometown hero. Shayna Killian spends time after school bringing new hope to furry friends that need an extra hand.
It's a very fun process, and it's definitely worth all the time that I spend, because knowing that I can save a life, that just makes me even more motivated to do so.
The high school senior has been busy building wheelchairs by hand for animals with disabilities, a mission driven by an important lesson.
I wanted to give them that second chance. I wanted to also spread awareness and educate people, and just let them know that, you know, even if an animal is disabled, they still have a quality of life, and they can still live an amazing life, even if they're disabled.
So far, Shayna has made 10 wheelchairs for animals like dogs, cats, a hedgehog, and even a duck. She also spends time volunteering at a local animal shelter. While Shayna donates the devices to the shelter, she says she actually gains more in the end.
Giving back is priceless, honestly. Knowing that I made a difference for one animal or one creature, like that's a big accomplishment for me, and being kind to everyone is what really matters at the end.
Shayna plans to continue creating wheelchairs for as many animals who need that little bit of extra loving, enjoying the journey along the way.
It makes me feel happy, and it makes me feel like I'm needed. And so doing that, it just makes me feel like a better person.
Kevin, thanks so much. What a great story that is. All right, let's switch gears and talk ghosts and goblins. Halloween is here. We know what that means. Grab your costumes and get ready for trick or treating. One of our curious viewers sent in this question.
This is Jaden, and I live in Chicago. Halloween is coming up, and I have a question. How did Halloween started? I love Lightning New Kids Edition. Bye!
Hey, Jaden, thanks, and hey to everybody in Chicago. That's a really good question, and here to help answer that for us is our friend Kristen Dahlgren.
Halloween is celebrated on October 31st every year. According to many scholars, the yearly tradition dates back some 2,000 years, when a group of people in Europe known as Celts celebrated the end of the harvest and the start of a new year, something that Halloween expert Leslie Ballantyne has studied for years.
It was on the cusp of winter, so it's looking out into the dark and dangerous season. People got together, but they also thought about what was out there in the dark. It was a very supernatural time. And in Ireland and Scotland, maybe 500 or so years ago, people celebrated this by coming together, having a party, playing games, building a bonfire, bobbing for apples, and trying to tell the future. And those were our very first Halloween parties.
So on October 31st, people would light bonfires and wear costumes to fight off ghosts. This night was known as All Hallows Eve, which later became more commonly known as Halloween. Halloween first became popular in the United States right around the Civil War. The first Halloween parties in America were held in the late 1800s. Then, years later, came trick-or-treating.
In America, trick-or-treating came from tricks. Around Halloween time, early in the 20th century, kids would put on costumes and go out into the streets and accost people and ask them for sweets or for money, or they'd bang on doors and demand treats. And if they didn't get any, they would come back, and sometimes mischief would ensue. Toilet paper would hang in the trees, the windows would be soaked, and over the course of a couple decades, this became the trick-or-treating we have now. Very few tricks, lots of treats.
Speaking of Halloween treats, do you know what candy corn was originally called when it was first invented? Chicken feed. The candy still remains popular today. And you know those jack-o'-lanterns you see every Halloween and have fun carving? Well, years ago, experts like Leslie say they were used to scare away the evil spirits. But despite the spookiness, Halloween is a date kids of all ages, and many adults too, look forward to every year.
People still celebrate Halloween today because there is no other night like it. On Halloween, there is a certain magic that comes with the nighttime celebration of a holiday. Your neighborhood looks different. You look different. There's a freedom in wearing a costume, being out in the dark with a tail, with a cape. that you just don't get on any other day. And I think people enjoy that kind of imagination.
So no matter what costume you choose, let's hope the history of Halloween excites you as you look to have a beautiful time.
Okay, Kristen, thanks very much for that. In honor of Halloween, our friend Zoe Bates from America's Test Kitchen Kids has a spooktacular idea you guys can try at home with one of my favorite desserts, cupcakes. Take it away, Zoe.
Hi, Lester. Today I'm going to be showing you two simple and spooky ways to decorate cupcakes for Halloween parties and any occasion spooky. So, the two methods we're going to use are the smooth and the swirl. I'm going to start by doing the swirly. So I've got a piping bag filled half with black icing and half with orange. Make sure that you specifically put the black frosting on one side and then the orange on the other. Now I'm just going to go in a spiral, working my way around the cupcake and trying to fill it in as much as possible. Then you get a pretty spiral that has both colors in it. Next, I'm going to do a smooth. For the smooth, I'm going to use some orange frosting and put about 2 tablespoons of it on top of a cupcake. Then I'm going to smooth it out with an icing spatula. Then, I have 2 ways to decorate it. The first is the sanding sugar method. So I'm going to use a bunch of super fine sprinkles for this and a cookie cutter. Take your sprinkles and put them inside the cookie cutter in whatever shape you want. This one I'm going to do a black cat. Then once it's filled in as much as you can, make sure that the sprinkles are evenly distributed. You can flip the cupcake upside down quickly to take off any extra, and then remove the cookie cutter to get whatever shape you made. Now, we're going to do the roll method. I have a bunch of spooky themed sprinkles on this plate, and I'm going to take one of my smooth cupcakes and carefully roll the edge in the sprinkles. Make sure you're gentle on this and that you don't drop the cupcake. Once the sprinkles are all around, you're done. But in this case, I want to add a little more, so I think I'm going to add a set of eyeballs to it. Great, there we go. These cupcakes are spooky, delicious, and full of Halloween festivity. Back to you, Lester.
All right, thanks so much, Zoe. And yes, you guessed it, I'm going as a pilot this year, but I'm temporarily grounded in the studio. Well, that's going to do it for us. Parents, just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com, and we'll try to answer them in an upcoming program. And a reminder, you can always follow us on Instagram at NightlyKids. All right, I hope you all have a happy Halloween, and you can be my wingman anytime. Take care. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to take care of yourself and each other. So long.